Welcome back to my channel Starwire Daily. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. It's 3 in the morning and Johnny Depp sits alone in his dimly lit mansion, surrounded by the echoes of a career that once made him the most enigmatic star in Hollywood. The man who brought us Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, and countless unforgettable characters is now facing his most challenging role yet, playing himself. What you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew about one of Hollywood's most complex figures. Because Johnny Depp's latest film isn't just another movie, industry insiders are calling it something far more personal, far more desperate. They're calling it a plea for help. Welcome back to Starwire Daily, where we dive deep into the glittering world of celebrity secrets. And today, we're pulling back the velvet curtain on a story that's been years in the making. I'm your host, and what I'm about to share with you comes from exclusive sources, leaked documents, and whispered conversations in the shadowy corners of Hollywood's most exclusive parties. You see, when Johnny Depp announced his return to the big screen after the tumultuous legal battles that nearly destroyed his career, the entertainment world held its collective breath. But what nobody expected was for his comeback film to become a mirror, reflecting not the character he's playing, but the fractured soul of the man behind the mask. Let me take you back to where this all began. It was a rainy Tuesday in November, when Depp first walked onto the set of his new independent film, Shadows of Yesterday. The crew members I spoke with, who asked to remain anonymous for obvious reasons, described a man who looked like Johnny Depp but carried himself like a ghost of his former self. He would arrive on set 2 hours early every day. One crew member confided to me over coffee in a small cafe near the studio. Not because he was eager or professional in the traditional sense, but because he seemed afraid to be anywhere else. Like the set was his sanctuary. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something the mainstream media won't tell you. The film itself, a psychological thriller about a washed-up actor trying to rebuild his life after a public scandal, wasn't originally written for Depp. In fact, the script had been floating around Hollywood for 3 years with nobody willing to touch it. Too close to home, they said. Too raw. Too real. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Depp himself reached out to the screenwriter, a relatively unknown talent named Sarah Martinez, at 2 in the morning on a Thursday in December. According to Martinez, who shared this story exclusively with a trusted industry journalist, Depp didn't just want to star in the film, he wanted to rewrite it, make it more personal, more painful. He told me, Martinez revealed, that he needed to tell this story not because he wanted to, but because he had to. Like it was the only way he could make sense of what had happened to him. Now, I want you to imagine being Johnny Depp in that moment. Here's a man who, for decades, was Hollywood royalty. Someone who could walk into any studio and have executives literally throwing money at him. Pirates of the Caribbean alone made him one of the highest-paid actors in the world, earning him over $90 million for just one film in the franchise. But money, as we've learned time and time again in this industry, doesn't protect you from the storms of life. The transformation began subtly. Those close to Depp started noticing changes in his behavior during the filming process. Where once he was known for his elaborate character preparations, remember how he spent months studying real pirates for Jack Sparrow? Now, he was drawing from a much darker well. His co-star, Emma Richardson, who's been remarkably tight-lipped about the experience, did let slip one telling detail during a recent interview. She mentioned that Depp would often stay in character between takes. Not because he was method acting, but because, in her words, the character seemed easier for him to be than himself. Think about that for a moment. Johnny Depp, a man who's made his entire career out of disappearing into other people's lives, was now using fiction as an escape from his own reality. But the real revelation came when I got my hands on some behind the scenes footage that was never meant to see the light of day. In this grainy handheld video shot by someone on the crew during a break in filming, we see Depp sitting alone in what appears to be a recreation of his character's apartment. But here's the kicker: the cameras weren't rolling. This wasn't. For the movie, Dot is just sitting there, staring at his hands, and you can hear him talking to himself. The audio is muffled, but you can make out fragments. How did it get this bad? And maybe this is what I deserve. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not sharing this to exploit anyone's pain. I'm sharing it because it reveals something profound about the human cost of fame, and how even our biggest stars are fighting battles we never see. The film industry, for all its glamour and glitz, can be absolutely ruthless. And Johnny Depp, whether you love him or hate him, has become a case study in how quickly everything can fall apart. Let's talk about the time. Think about it. After everything he's been through, after losing roles, after the public humiliation, after watching his reputation crumble in real time, Johnny Depp could have easily retreated from the public eye forever. He has enough money to disappear. He has private islands where he could hide. Instead, he chose to make the most personal, most revealing film of his career. There's a beautiful irony here that I don't think is lost on anyone paying attention. For years, Depp was known as Hollywood's ultimate chameleon, the actor who could disappear so completely into a role that you forgot you were watching. Johnny Depp. But this film strips away all of that artifice. This is Johnny Depp, raw and unfiltered, using his pain as a canvas, and maybe that's exactly what he needed to do. Industry. Analysts are already predicting that Shadows of Yesterday will be a watershed moment, not just for Depp's career, but for how we talk about mental health and vulnerability in Hollywood. The early buzz suggests this could be an awards contender, which would be quite the comeback story. But more importantly, people who've seen early screenings describe it as profoundly moving. Not because of flashy special effects or clever plot twists, but because of its unflinching honesty about what it means to fall from grace and try to find your way back to yourself. Of course, there are skeptics. Some industry veterans I've spoken with worried that this level of personal revelation might be too much, too raw for mainstream audiences. People go to the movies to escape. One studio executive told me not to watch someone process their trauma in real time. But I think they're missing the point entirely. Because this isn't just Johnny Depp's story. This is a story about resilience, about the courage it takes to rebuild yourself when everything falls apart. It's about the price of fame, yes. But it's also about the possibility of redemption, not in the eyes of others, but in your own. And let's be honest here, we live in an age where authenticity is rare, especially in Hollywood. We're so used to carefully curated public personas, to celebrities who only show us their highlight reels. When someone like Depp chooses to be this vulnerable, be this honest about their struggles, it's revolutionary. It makes you wonder about all the other stars who are suffering in silence, hiding behind their million-dollar smiles and carefully managed public images. How many of them are fighting battles we never see? How many of them could benefit from the kind of brutal honesty that Depp is displaying? There's another layer to this story that we need to talk about. And it's about the power of art to heal both the creator and the audience. Every great actor will tell you that the best performances come from the deepest places of truth within themselves. But what happens when that truth is painful? What happens when the well you're drawing from is filled with regret, loss, and broken dreams? In Depp's case, it seems like he's discovered that sometimes the only way through pain is directly through it. No detours, no shortcuts. No hiding behind elaborate costumes and characters, just truth. And maybe that's what makes this film feel so much like a plea for help. It's not Depp asking us to save him, it's him showing us that he's learning to save himself. The early reviews that have leaked suggest that Shadows of Yesterday is unlike anything Depp has ever done. Critics are using words like devastating, courageous, and necessary. One reviewer wrote that watching the film felt like witnessing someone perform surgery on their own soul. But perhaps the most telling response has come from other actors in Hollywood. Sources tell me that after private screenings, several major stars have reached out to Depp personally, not to congratulate him on his performance, but to thank him for his bravery. Because in an industry built on illusion, choosing reality, even painful reality, takes incredible courage. As I've been researching this story, I keep coming back to something that a longtime friend of Depp's told me. This person, who's known him since before he was famous, said something that really stuck with me. Johnny's always been someone who feels everything more intensely than most people. That's what made him such a great actor. But it's also what made his fall so much harder. This film, it's like he's finally found a way to turn that intensity into something healing instead of destructive. And maybe that's the real story here. It's not just about a troubled star making a comeback, but about a human being finding a way to transform their deepest wounds into something meaningful. The film is set to premiere at several major film festivals before its wide release, and already the anticipation is building. Not just from fans and critics, but from mental health advocates who see this as an opportunity to have important conversations about trauma, recovery, and the courage it takes to rebuild yourself. In many ways, Johnny Depp has become an unlikely spokesperson for everyone who's ever felt like their life was falling apart. Everyone who's ever wondered if they could come back from their lowest point. And the answer this film seems to be giving is both simple and profound. Maybe, but only if you're willing to face the truth about who you are when everything else is stripped away. As we wrap up today's deep dive into this fascinating and heartbreaking story, I can't help but think about the broader implications of what we're witnessing in an industry that often prioritizes image over substance, profit over people. Johnny Depp's decision to be this vulnerable, this honest about his struggles, represents something revolutionary. It's a reminder that behind every celebrity, every larger-than-life persona, is a human being with the same fears, insecurities, and capacity for pain as the rest of us. Whether Shadows of